And welcome back. We've had a break with our next speaker getting ready for her presentation today. Now, Kay is someone I've known for approximately 4 years, I think, Kay. We met during the COVID pandemic lockdowns.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Yeah, and Kay actually does my branding. So I'll put my branding there. She is also the policeman of my branding, because if I put anything out that isn't branded, then I get these messages all coming up on my phone saying, "Where's your branding?" And Kay has done all sorts of different types of branding for me. So I know that she has an incredible way of looking at things and being able to help any business around branding. And she's going to cover with you now the importance of your brand. So, Kate, over to you.
Great. Am I on screen share?
You should be, yeah.
So we're going to go here. So let's just check. We're all good. Can everybody see the screen?
Yep, you're there.
Yeah, great. Ooh. Right. We'll get started. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Karen, for inviting me today. And hello, everybody who's going to be watching on replay. So today I'm going to be talking about the importance of building your brand, how to get that right, and the role that plays in business growth. So let's get started. So who am I? I'm Kay Storey, and my business is Brandstorm Creatives, and I'm a brand strategist and business consultant. And I've been doing this now for 25 years. So plenty practicing, plenty clients over the years. I don't even know, I wouldn't even like to start to count up how many. But we work from everybody from artists through to underwriters to craft something that's uniquely you. Our last speaker talked about energy, which is really important when it comes to your brand. What is your energy? Because we're all unique, and this is how we infuse this in so that we're connecting with our correct target audience for us. We're not for everybody, but what we do is we need to connect with our tribe, and this is how we do it through branding. So without further ado, are you ready to say yes to gaining clarity on building your brand, guidance and support from an expert, confidence in grabbing the potential success your brand can have, and confidence that you're hitting your brand, your audience with a visual bang, because standout is more important than ever, with markets getting oversaturated, with the online space being so busy. So this is really important that we spend some time in really connecting with yourself and your brand and your target audience and making sure that everything's aligned. So today's mission is really to get you thinking about your current brand and illustrate the value that you actually have and the potential you have for growth, and really how a real strong brand presence can catapult your business further and faster. So if you have a pen, Andy, give yourself a little score out of 10 about, you know, where would you put yourself? 1 being terrible, 10 being amazing. Where would you put yourself on that scale where your branding knowledge is? And a second score, how would you score your current branding as it is today? So I'm just going to start by talking about the differences, because sometimes this gets a bit confusing, and it is, you know, covers such a wide breadth of elements that it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to really start talking about what your brand is. So the brand really is the essence, the heart and soul of your brand, what everything you stand for. What do people think and feel about your business? that is your brand. If I was to, you know, talk about Karen, that's obviously through my experience and knowledge of her brand. And that is really what we're wanting to build on. You know, what are people saying, thinking, feeling about us? And we do this in a number of different ways. We work out what our positioning is within our market. And it's our personality, you know, why are you friends with your friends? You've got to think when you're creating brands, what you're really doing is humanizing that brand. So what do you have to say? What is your tone of voice? What are your messages? And it really comes down to what your core beliefs are. So things like your purpose, vision, mission, your values, these are things that you're going to get people to connect with your brand. And what we're wanting to do is give people, our clients, ideal paying clients, a positive and a consistent experience of us and our brand. And then we talk about brand strategy, and this is really how the strategy is, how we're going to convert all what we've got, bundle it all up, and how we're going to deliver on what our promises are for our products and services and personal brands working with you. Branding. So we really need to get this first piece right about the brand, because that then we use that as a foundation and a base to start aligning things for when we're showing up visually. So your branding is really how we communicate what is the heart and soul of your brand, and it's how you're going to interact with the world both on and offline. And consistency is key. You'll see this word pop up several times through this presentation, because it's the repetition of doing it. Donna talked about energy. She talked about, you know, forming habits and repetition. And it's just the same, really. That's the process of us getting our audience familiar with us and our products and services. So the visual identity part of your branding is where we start to create a lot of that consistency. Where are we seen? So your visual identity starts with some real core foundation work, which we will call your brand guidelines. And everybody should have some base guidelines, even if, you know, branding is not just for the big fish, it's for everyone. And by creating that, we're going to start creating consistency. That's through having a professional logo done, through the typography we use. We're going to talk about these later. The color palette that makes us recognizable really quickly, the style of the graphics, the photography we use, all these things come together in base guidelines, which you need to repeat consistently. So these then branding includes things like your website, your stationery, any digital assets that you produce. All these assets of the brand are what we pull together and what we get to know as you. So design, why is design important? I think it's been undervalued a lot in more recent times, with people getting more accessible to programs, but it doesn't mean it's great design. People, I see them all the time just moving shapes and words around in pages, but they're not creating the right impact. And we're going to talk about some of that a little later on when we move into the design part of this presentation. And what is it? Again, why is the consistency in the design so important? Because this is how we become memorable. You know, how often do you see a famous brand and you only have to see maybe a hint of a colour, part of the typeface, or if it's got a distinctive logo, and you can tell whether that's on a supermarket aisle or whether it's you're driving down a motorway and you just see something in the background. You know exactly what that business is, what they stand for, whether you interact with it or what your impressions are of that. That's all from, and these are split-second decisions. So this is why design is really, really important. And great design establishes your brand's identity and reputation, and it does really influence the way that your audience think about your brand. So we need to be really, really keen here on being aware of what are the first impressions of our brand, because they really count. And there are many ways we can look at that. But the consistency part is really important. Oh, if anybody would like to do a screen grab, I'm offering everybody a free brand personality slider. It's just a quick download. You can grab that and it'll just help you think, like, where is my brand? How would I describe it? Then you can go back and look at how you've scored yourself, and then you can think about, right, is that actually what I'm putting out? Because there could be some misalignment there. So help yourself to that, anybody watching who would find that useful. So what is it about brands that makes it so important? It's the return on investment, and the return on investment is not always about money. Yes, if you start to do all the things and you will see your business and through your audience growth, you will get a higher return on money, but it has other values as well. So once you get to a point in business where you've got legs, your business is doing amazing, but actually, does your brand communicate that level of expertise? And in the early days, we brand to our future vision. And when you do that, when you brand to your future vision, it gives you a confidence that a very clear and concise brand behind you elevates you, your energy. We talk about energy. It does all those things. The engagement between you and your clients becomes stronger because that user experience is a much seamless journey. And this is across all elements. So whether that's on your web page, sales pages, whether it's how you show up in presentations, all these things contribute to building a stronger brand, which will in turn, if you feed that, if you nurture that, will help with your business growth. So personal versus business brands. I genuinely believe if you can work on both, you've got the best of both worlds, because as smaller business owners, we are representing, we are showing up as the face of our brands. But what you've got to remember is, what are you building and what are your goals? So if your goal is to sell the business, if your goal is to franchise, you can't necessarily do that if it's just you. And this is why it's really important to have a business brand, depending on what the vision for your brand is moving forwards. And we have to do that, that's personal to you, but that you need to consider these things really important while you're building the business, so that you're in a position to do whatever you want to do with that business moving forwards. And all brands evolve. So just as an example, here's something that, be very surprised if no one does not recognize this brand, the Apple brand. But you can see, like, when they set off, look at how they were. In 1976, they used the Isaac Newton sat under a tree. But then they quickly developed this really strong icon, which then developed again, and which is still present today. So a really strong brand can stay with you a lifetime. If your business evolves, then maybe it's time to reevaluate, and maybe it's time to rebrand. And again, this all depends on where you are with your business and what your vision is and where how far you've grown. But it's everybody. This affects every business, whether you're large or small. So I'd like to just take you to a little task, which I think is really important. And in this task, you can do this in your own time, but I want you to really think about a brand that you are really connected to. So I will use Apple as being in the design industry. Apple's a massive part of my life and always has been. But how do you feel about that brand? Do you get excited? Even everything down to the packaging, the excitement of getting, your new equipment. Why are you loyal? Why are you loyal to whatever your brand that you choose is? This could be anything, right? This could be a soup that makes you feel good when you're poorly. This could be the car that you drive, that you stick to a certain brand because it makes you feel good. Why do we buy? What emotions? And usually it gives us a sense of security, safety. It's something that we really trust. It's a brand we trust. or it just lights us up and it makes us feel good, whether that's a clothing brand, whatever it is. I want you to connect into what a brand that you connect with and go through that emotions as a consumer. And then when we've gone through that process, what does it mean to you? Have a look at your own brand and try and put yourself in the shoes of one of your target audience. So what is it about your brand that you think, as you are showing up, feel about you and your brand? It's a really good exercise to do, and you might just find you have a few light bulb moments doing this. So how do we build a successful brand and grow your business? There is a formula. And what we find is if you've got to do one of these elements correctly to get the maximum impact on the next stage. Of course, as small business, we kind of find that they hop in between all these. So they're so busy trying to, get the strategy out or start marketing, they leave their identity to a little bit later, which is why when a business has been going for a few years, it's usually time to really put some energy into the branding once they've settled on, who is the target audience, because that is the end goal, isn't it? Us as a business, and who are we selling to? And then everything else, or all the little steps we can take to maximize the impact we have on the other end of the scale. So we've got research, we've got brand strategy, we've got the brand identity, we've got your marketing and sales, and really important, your mindset and energy. So really think about, where have you at this point in your business invested your time, money and energy to date in the ways of like what is actually growing your brand? And there are going to be gaps. Everybody does this when they're growing the brands. They kind of skip through these 1 to 5 markers, and actually find that there's key elements that will really help your business growth by going back. So I'm going to give you a little something at the end which will help find all these and give you something succinct to follow to reach your next level of business growth. Why is research so important? Well, the thing is about the research, we need to be really, really clear about who our clients are, and that research has got to be done by, digging deep. What is it they want? What is it? How are you going to position yourself against competitors to make them choose you? What are your USPs? What is it? Are you in a large market, but you are wanting to serve a certain niche in that market? We need to decide how you're going to position that, and we do that through research. Visually, we need to know how we compare against competitors. How do they show up? Is there someone that you really aspire to? How do they do it? What is it? And this is not to copy, this is to work out how you are going to show up being gloriously you. And we need to do a little bit of SWOT analysis here, like where are the risks? And by doing that, so we're looking at where the opportunities are. And this is if you've not done one for a while, I suggest you do, and even do one on every product and service that you release, not necessarily just you and your brand. But remember, never be a second-rate copy of anybody else. Always be authentically you. This is really important. We started talking about brand at the beginning. This is your core beliefs. What is your mission? What are you aiming to do? What is the point in you being in business? Because you need to feel this, you need to feel this, you need to be passionate about this, and this is the energy that other people feel, and you can talk about this in all your branding. So what is it you want to do, support? Are you guiding businesses to make a bigger impact? Be really clear on who you're doing this for and why you're doing it. Your vision, this is where your purpose and vision come together, your big why. Why do you do what you do? And if you can create a really powerful vision statement to share with people, this is a way to fast track business growth. Because how many times have we met someone new, met someone in networking, met someone in a bar, made a new friend, where we start chatting and you soon pick up on what that person's values are, and you make a decision, is that person aligned with you? And this is how we grow friendship groups, how we grow businesses. It's just nature, it's how we as humans operate. So it's really important, your vision statement and your purpose. Is it big enough? You know, we're here talking about business growth, aren't we? You know, and your wealth. Are you playing too small? Is there something in your vision? When's the last time you looked at your vision? Was your vision made at the beginning of your business, but actually you've changed considerably? Are you actually, your vision now has changed, but have you updated that? You know, a brand is always evolving, and we need to go back and we need to update. So don't sit on your laurels presuming that we did this once in 1995 and we're still, you know, going strong, because it could have completely changed. So make sure that you revisit your brand strategy. Your values mentioned are so important. What is it in your core values that you, when your back's against the wall, what will you defend? What is really important to you? Because when you share these with people, this is how you develop trust and empathy, and you cultivate, you know, your tribe, because you share them values. One of my values, these are some of my values for School of Brand, and you know, we're desperate to empower people in learning, in doing these presentations, you know, want to empower you to think, yeah, I can build this bigger brand. You know, all you've got to do is break everything down in chunks, and we do that by educating people. We only know what we know. I don't, you know, cut my own hair. I don't, you know, I don't know how a light works, or I don't know how anything. You just know what's in your world. And branding is not something that, you know, we're educated on when we set off in business, but we do need to learn, and we need to know what we need to take us forward to the next level. And we do that by being super supportive, because you need somebody who's got your back. You need someone you can trust. And by doing this, we really inspire people. We want to inspire people to build bigger, better brands, to make more impact. But one value that we have that is really important, it needs to be fun. Because to us, if it's not fun, what's the point? You know, you're a long time in your business, you spend many hours during your day in business, and we need to know that we're doing it with, you know, from a place of fun and enjoyment. And that enjoyment, if you can light you up, other people will feel that energy. What we say is super important too. What is your tone of voice? And you need to be consistent. I've talked about how we need to humanize our brands, and think about that in a way of as an exchange in conversation, exchanges in conversation with potential clients. It's really important. So how are you going to think about how you're going to emotionally connect with your audience? And when this is where some of the research in what the competition sounds like, what are you going to say to differentiate yourself? What's another brand's voice that you love? Start with that. If you've not done this work, what is it about them that you think, and you know, yeah, that's how I connect with that brand. In the exercise that I just talked about previously, when you go through that, it'll really get the cogs going. And what are you saying? How are you connecting with your audience? And what, you know, more so as well, what tone of voice do you want to avoid? And that could be, you know, do you want to sound more professional? Do you want to sound super friendly? Some brands are quite sweary, and that suits, if that suits your audience. There's no right or wrong. It's about you making a connection with your target audience. Target audience research, so important, because if you've way off the mark with this, who are you going to actually sell to? And we need to readdress this, because target audience often changes with our products and services as the business grows. And who you were maybe targeting in 1 year, several years down the line, that could have really changed. So then you need to go back and look at your tone of voice. Are you still speaking to the people you want to attract in the right tone of voice? And we can do that in many ways. So when we talk about, if you said, I am, attracting women in the UK, well, your marketing's going to be really difficult because it's just too wide. And we don't need to go too narrow. But then again, if your product and services is really niche, you do need to drill down. We need to work this out individually as we work through brands. But what are the aspirations, goals, fears, and pain points? And one thing that's really important is talking about what the benefits of the benefits working with you are. So if you were, example, selling something, saying, oh, it's going to make you more money, that's like great. But if it's to make you more money to buy the dream house for your family, there's more of an emotional connection there with some of your audience. So think about what the benefits are to your client from working with you. And that's what we talk about, the benefits of the benefit. But really look and be clear about your target audience, and do this for each of your products and services, because these could differ a little. So I want you to, if you've not done the research behind your products and services, it's really important, especially when you come to start paying to do your branding, because if you're really serious, this part needs to be really dig deep into this, because the research will inform the decisions you make through other elements whilst growing your brand. I'm just showing you this is somebody I work with, and this shows how you can look at where you sit in your market, look at where you visually sit. So once we've done the research on the brand side of it, like your core elements, what do you look like in your marketplace? And we always ask, these are people who you would see as your competitors now, and also look at businesses that you would aspire to whilst growing your business. And by doing this, we can start to do like screen grabs of, how they show up in social media, what is their websites like, what impressions are they giving? And you can start to give yourself a visual positioning too, because the emotion side of buying is everything. What is the emotional connection to you and your client? And that's key to your brand survival. So what is it? So does your brand make people feel good? Do you change lives? Do you share the same values? There's a real trust element there. You never disappoint. There are a lot of big high street brands that you would go back to time and time again, because you know what you're getting. It's always the same. It's always consistent. It gives you a result that you need. You're then a loyal customer. So where can you mirror that in your own brand? But don't leave these things to a chance meeting when you wanting people's eyes on your brand. Impact is everything. I want to talk about your stories. Stories in business growth is really important. Where have you come from? Where are you going to? What got you to where you are today? Where did you actually get that passion to start up with? Everybody likes to connect with something that they feel a real affinity to, and we do this to build the know, like, and trust factor. So yeah, passions, where did it come from? I've always had a passion for design, and I've had that passion since I was, well, as long as I can remember, when I used to get to do the posters at school, because I couldn't sing, tone deaf, don't ask me to sing, but what I did get asked to do were the posters, because I was creative. I've always had a creative mind. So for me, it was a natural progression for me to work my way through art school, studying, doing design communications. And for me, it's in my DNA. So my story starts way back when I was a little girl, but as something happened in your life, did you overcome something? Do what's inspiring? and where is the passion in your story? And this is an amazing way to grow your audience. And don't forget, do take people behind the scenes. What are you working on? What are you aiming towards? What goes on in the background? People love this, and this is another great way to grow audience. So what are we wanting to do? We're wanting to tune in to Brand FM. We want people to be tuned into everything about us. What is it they're looking for? You want that to be you. And by working through a lot of these steps, we're going to get that sweet spot where people get you, love you, know you, like you feel authentic. It's easy because people have that emotional connection with your brand. So as homework for everybody on replay, what I'd really like you to do is think about what 3 emotions you want people to feel about your brand if you've not done this already. So think about, do you want to evoke excitement? Is it supportive? Do you want to be a champion of people? Do you want people working with you to be fun? Like, what is it about working with you that you want people to feel? This is a great piece to do. It's really simple, but sometimes overlooked, and will help in business growth. And what you need to do is more of that. If that's what you're about and that's how you want people to feel, do more of them things in your marketing. Logos, what does yours say about you? So we're moving on to like the branding element here. What does it say about you? There's so many businesses I see where they're getting ready for growth, where what you find is the business has grown, but their identity has not, and it gets left behind. And this is where a professional logo really comes into its own. And, what can I say? If your brand doesn't look professional, then there's going to be a mismatch. You're saying you're, an authority in your field. You might be saying you're, the go-to expert, but does it look the part? There's a point whilst you're growing your business where this gap is quite large, and it's going to really hinder business growth. Typefaces, we talk about consistency. On the branding side of things, even typefaces evoke emotions. And is it fun? Is it serious? Is it easy to read? What does it need to be? And the thing is it recognizable? People far too often, a mistake I see, they're jumping on things like Canva, and every time they put something out, it's in a different typeface, it's in a different, they'll go to town and get excited on the color palette. Well, this is not going to help you grow your business and become memorable or recognizable. So I suggest everybody even sticks to probably 3 that you use consistently, so at least that's starting to build that memory function up about you and your brand with your clients. Colors are so important, and we talk about emotional connection because colors do evoke feelings and emotions, and it does influence a brand's choice. So what does your brand, and this changes as well, so even to the point the shade of a color changes the energy of that color. So more impactful, is your brand bold? You're probably going to go for the stronger colors. Or a lot of people, I've just put these up here so you can see that here we choose colors. Blue, trustworthy. Police and ambulance, a lot of their stuff's blue. Accountants, a lot of their stuff's blue. We can red's a really interesting color because it changes. It can mean danger. That's what we've talked about. That's a red light, it's a stop. But it's also energy, excitement, love. It can be passionate. So you've got to use the right colors in the right tones that's right for your business, that's going to connect with your audience. So it's not just about picking your favorite color when you're working on your brand. What is it? Are you trying to bring authority? Is it sophisticated? Is it formal? You know, is it natural? What is it about the core? And this is why when we do the brand element about your core beliefs, these all line up, and it's important that you do that work first before we start on your branding. I'm going to seem to have stuck. So I just want to show how this can work. So this is using just a few core elements, got a set typeface, set logo, a color palette. We talked about, you know, the importance of having guidelines at the beginning. We've picked a style and we just stick, but we can play around with these. So every piece in this looks very different, but it's all from the same palette. But when you bring it together and you get an overview of what your brand looks like, that's where we've got the consistency. And this is why guidelines are so important. So when we come to your marketing and sales, this is how you get visible. You know, how are you going to sell? Because no matter what we do, we've done the research, it looks the part, but you know, this is real how we're going to get this to market. So where we're going to be visible, how we're going to show up. There's a number of things I've put on screen here. So, you know, are we blogging and put my teeth back in, blogging and vlogging? Are we writing books showing our authority and our knowledge? Our host today, Karen, has got a bookshelf full of books she's written because she needs, you know, it's a crime not to share that information. If we've gone through our lives becoming an expert in what we do and we're not sharing that knowledge, what was the point in us doing it in the first place, right? So how do we do that? Masterclasses, things like this, the summit, you know, what we're going to do to market ourselves and our services to help grow our business. And I potentially, you know, there are so many ways, but pick something that aligns with you. If you're happy being on screen, do your videos. If you're an amazing writer, you know, do it through written word. There's no right or wrong ways. I think the main thing is whatever you choose, it's really aligned with something that lights you up. What do you enjoy? Because while you enjoy what you're doing, that energy is infused into everything that you're putting out into market. So really think about, you know, what you're doing. Have you got a lead generation system that's converting for you? And how many marketing channels do you have that work well? Because if you're just relying on, for example, social media, well, how many of your audience are in these other areas? So start to get the help that you need to get yourselves out into higher markets for business growth. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. So the last piece of this picture that I just wanted to quickly talk about was your mindset. So when we're talking about business growth, what is it that we're getting stuck on? Because a lot of the time it's us, we end up holding ourselves back. Donna talked about that brilliantly in the first talk of today. But where is that? So is it self-worth, trust? When you're showing up as being an expert, how are you doing that through your branding? Are you actually looking like the expert that you are? Do you get fear of judgment? You know, is this affecting your marketing? Because do you not want to do lives for fear of judgment? So we also, as part of like the whole branding process, look where your energy and mindset might be holding you back. And we can do things like the energy codes, or you can put some things in place to help you move through that. And these will help get your brand out there and increase business growth also. So I would like to invite anybody who wants to take up a brand flight map. So we talked about how there's all these different elements, what we work on in growing your brand. So inside that, we will have skipped, this is everybody, right? Everybody skips on some of the research, or they've kind of not revisited or really thought deep enough into the strategy. Are those elements aligning with their identity? Marketing and sales, what is it that you're working on at the minute? Where are you at with your mindset? What's holding you back? So we've developed this pretty amazing system that we can do, where we literally generate a report after spending an hour doing a deep dive on your business. What we can do is we can find all the gaps and give you a bespoke flight map that tells you how to plug those gaps, and they will help business growth. So anybody who's interested in that, hop on and take advantage of that. Or, as it's my birthday weekend, there are other offers currently online, but you need to go on my social media to see what they are for this week. But yeah, the pieces that keep us stuck are sometimes they're the secret things that are going to catapult our growth. And this is an amazing way for you to find out what yours are. And again, get amazing testimonials from these, and everybody has gaps. Everybody, no matter what level of business they're at, will have a gap or a weak spot that we can work on and move your brand forwards. Well, I think I keep hitting back buttons, so what's going wrong here? So this is going to wrap up for today. So I'd really like you to think about, right at the beginning, I asked you to score your brand and knowledge, your branding knowledge of where you thought you were. Now, this is really interesting. So some people think that they've, hitting all those goals and doing all the things, and then after, a presentation, realize that actually I've not done this, that, and the other. So just give yourself a little score about where your branding knowledge now, and hopefully that should be, for most people, a little bit higher than it was. And really think about what I asked at the beginning, which is, where do you rate your current branding? Because actually, is it as good as what you think it is? So start to think about where the next moves are within your business that are going to move you forward, and think about, where are your biggest challenges in business growth? Is it around time, your visibility? Do you feel stuck where you are? Is it knowledge based? Is it around money, growing a team when it comes to business growth? What is your value, your mindset? Is it just a confidence-based thing? Do you need the confidence that a strong, cohesive brand gives to help you move forward and step up into that expert status that, you deserve? So that is me today. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Kay. If you'd like to give me the screen back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, so before I open up for questions, I like to get in first with the questions. Colours. That is obviously something that you've touched on, what colours mean within a business. And I know that mine's black, so that's elegant, it's sophisticated, it's which you like to think you are when you're dealing with investing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've had some people that I do one-to-one Zooms with, and quite often they talk to me about the power. They come on and they go, wow, that's powerful, when they see the logo behind. So with the colors, is there like, I know you touched on the different total colors, but what I'm trying to say is, if I wanted purple in my color scheme and I wanted this, do you take that personal interest in, or do you say, hey, this is a business, this is what you should be? A little bit of a process about how you came up with my brand.
Right. So what you're saying about, oh, I like this color or that color, are you buying? The question is, are you selling to are you your target audience?
Mm.
And then, so personal preference. And we get this sometimes. People say, I love green, can I have green? Well, if we're talking about this, this, and this, I don't know how. And we've looked at what your values are, you know, where's the energy in the brand? So it's not about you, is it? It's about your audience. So if your favorite color is, you know, burnt orange, well, good for you. But, you know, is this going to help get the energy right in your brand? So really, it's when we're talking about because we're talking about business here, right? This is business branding. If it's a personal brand, for example, and everything about you is hot pink, right? You're a real life Barbie, everything's pink in your world, you know, and it's a very personal brand, and you're very passionate, and you know, and you want that excitement to that. It does it if it suits you and your personality, and they're going to be hit by hot pink at every interaction with you. Yeah, then we do that. So, you know, because personally for you, whatever your colors like that, if they align with what your values and how you perceive yourself, and that interaction with your clients, then yes. If we're talking purely about a business brand, we would be looking at the client and not you. So your personal sorry, just so your personal views on favorite colors, well, they're not going to really serve you if that's not going to align with building your business and connecting with more clients. So when you were saying like with purple is a color of excellence, it's regal, it's, you know, it can be quite spiritual, but again, the shade of a color changes the energy. So, you know, something full strength in a really heavy bold color, like that's quite impactful, isn't it? That's bold. If it's a soft, if your energy and the energy of your clients and interaction with the products and services is a softer nature, you won't be choosing like a Cadbury's purple, for instance, that's very impactful. You'd be going for nice soft lilacs, and you'd be doing, you know, it becomes quite feminine, and it becomes a lot softer, doesn't it? So it's about that balance of energy, and there is no one size fits all, because you're branding you, right, and your business. And even if there's a 1 degree shift in what you do to what somebody else in your sector does, you still might be trying to attract a different client. So you might be, not that you are, but you might be just all hell bent on working with women, and you might be working in or certain sectors, you know. So we consider all these things about what fits. So there isn't a straight answer, to be honest, because it's personal, isn't it? It's your personal brand, it's your business brand, it's about you. And this is why this piece at the beginning is really important. What is the vision? Who are that target audience? What do you do? How does it serve? When it's like a cocktail, you know. We can go to a different bar every time. There'll be slight nuances between them, but it's about getting the cocktail of branding right for you.
Because I know that I spend a lot of time online, and there is this trend now that things are pivoting towards having a personal brand. Brand you is the business.
Yeah.
And that leads me on to what was the second question I want to ask. Now, Brendan is on here. I don't know if you're still there at the moment, Brendan, but Brendan's a network marketer, right? So Brendan's a network marketer. He's actually governed to a certain degree by the network that he is promoting. But is there a benefit to someone like Brendan in having a personal brand that aligns with the network marketing business that he has?
Yeah, if that works. It's about what your strategy is. So you need to go back again. It's the alignment of everything. So when, yes, there is something brand new. So what we talked about is, I don't know if you remember, I said you've got to humanize your brand. Like, think of your brand like a person, and you interact with it in that same way. What is its personality, the tone of voice? What is the messaging? What is it that you've got to say? So all these elements are really human traits, aren't they? Which is the same. Now, if you are the face of your business and it's very much about you, then yeah, you've got to brand, you've got to do that around you and yourself, you know, that because you are branding you. But what I was saying is, depending on what the vision is for the business, so we have a personal brand, so I show up as my business. So I do have, you know, I have a personal brand because people interact with me, and part of my personal values is fun. So anybody who knows me, I like to have a laugh, bit cheeky sometimes, but I like to put fun into how I deliver things, how I work. Like, but that's how I am personally with friends. That's how I am with clients. That's a consistent with me, because the bringing fun into my day is really important to me, and I also bring that into my brand. So there's no point me being super serious or constantly looking very corporate, because you're not going to get that when you work big. Yes, of course, you get in the 25 years experience, I am professional, but you're not going to feel like you're with an accountant having an audit, or you're in court, you know, or, you know, you're never going to get, because I'm really relaxed. So my style and part of my brand is fun, right? So working with me, I like to make fun. So that's really important, that comes across in both my personal stuff. Like, my website is not a straightforward cookie cutter website that you see. I see a lot of, you know, industries doing, they're just using templates, because it didn't work for me. There's color exploding, there's Einsteins on it, I've got Frankenstein, and there's all these things right going on. But then that's me, you know. I do that because that is part of me, and I don't do cookie cutter style branding for people. I do bespoke, you know, bespoke work. So what you were saying about, like, people say, do you brand you? Well, you do, but I have a business. So if I had to remove me out of it, my business is still able to grow. I don't have to be present all the time, because I work with other people as well within my business. So, but if you are, say, a public speaker and it's all about you, then it is all about you. But then this is why the vision of the business is important, because what are you going to do that? Because if you then say, right, I'm now going to sell the business, or I'm not present anymore, you don't have a business, do you? You know, so what are you selling? Like, how, this is why it's important to have a business brand. And I've seen this on lots of the big influential people online. So what is important is, it's quicker to grow a personal brand than it is to grow a business brand, but you need to be doing both. And the amount of people I've seen who have been personal brands, who all of a sudden have a join our whatever name academy, like, because they know there's no exit. There's no, what do they do? Where do they go? Because it just ends, doesn't it? If you take you out of, if you just solely you are the business, and you want to sell that, if you just want to let it dissipate, that's fine. But if you're wanting to sell, franchise, if you're wanting to leave a legacy, what does that legacy look like without you in it? And that needs to be a business that's running, and it has part of you in it. The two interact, you know, they're not two separate things. You're not building a personal brand that doesn't align, because you were like, because it'll never make sense, it won't gel, and people will see that and feel that. So the two are quite fluid.
Right.
Have I answered your question?
Yes. Thank you. So, do we have any more questions for Anne? Sorry, 4K. I'm looking at Anne on the screen there. Any questions? So, Anne, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I do have a question. So you had them right. I was channeling that question. So, So yes, I have a question. So I have a group of companies and different things that we do. And I love how Virgin has that one red brand that sort of kind of completely pulls through. When you're a small business, don't have a Virgin budget, etc., what do you do to make your companies look like a group? Is it even wise to do that? Yeah, love to have your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I've just done this recently. So we've just done a rebrand with a company who have done several acquisitions. So they've ended up with like a mishmash of businesses with different identities. So, and the thing is, right, you don't have to be a massive company to do this. I mean, they're growing, but it's about going back to the consistency of what is the overarching brand. So, like with Virgin, that the base, but then is the overarching brand. But if you actually Google Virgin and you look at all their group of companies, they all look like family, don't they? So that group of companies, you know, we don't start having different wildly different typefaces. We don't have different colours. So we've taken what is the core brand, and then, which is like what I've done on this rebrand I've just done with someone, what does this next business look like? So we use core elements, so it's got its own identity, but we are using the same elements in different ways. But when you put them all together, they look like a group of companies. You know, like Virgin, like you were saying, it's obvious, isn't it, that it's part of that network, it's part of that group. And back to basics, what are your brand guidelines? So people, if you had, for instance, it might be more difficult if you were serving in completely, well, I don't know though, because Virgin's just so different, isn't it? You've got your holidays, so that you're talking to holiday makers. So if you really wanted, for instance, to maybe sell off part of that company, or you wanted it to look different, and you didn't want it to look part of yours, you might do it then. You brand it up as something different. But if you are wanting to show your authority and your gravitas as a group, in the power behind having a group of companies, then that's exactly how you do it. But yeah, you certainly don't have to be a massive company to start, you know, doing that. It's basics. It's about having basics that mean something and applying them consistently. So,
for instance, Anne, I'm assuming, because I know you've got a lot of businesses and you have uh, grown your business through mergers and acquisitions, and trying to understand what Kay is talking about, I presume there needs to be an overall name to be able to brand that within the different.
yeah, so you have what is your overarching brand? This is, and then in that, the sub brands, the different companies that operate, they all sit under that, but the overarching brand is the key point to starting that. What is that? So think, like you gave the perfect example of Virgin.
Yeah.
Like that is the overarching brand. And then when you look at it, so if it's Virgin Money, Virgin, you know, like Virgin Holidays, but they all look like the part of a family.
Yeah, because I mean, we struggle with that. I mean, you can see here, I mean, around me, I have Gamification Nation is the overarching brand, and then we have Playerance, which is the quiz platform, My Digital Office, which is the remote leadership platform. So they all grow out of Gamification Nation, the main brand, but they take on facets of colors and schemes. And we try to work with round circles, triangles, and then squares as the sort of theme.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, it's not easy, like it's not like a simple thing. Like that's a big piece of branding wise, that's a big piece of work.
Exactly.
But you know, I've been I've been working with this business for months, and we've now launched and we've pulled everything in line. So when a new business comes in, we now know like
This is
how
what
that fits in. We know what that now that will then look like a certain way. There's the fonts and things. So we've set all that up.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do is you've got to go back to the basics and nail what the overarching brand is.
Yeah.
And then, for instance, if like all your things that I can just see in the background came under that, we would then rebrand them in alignment with the other one. And you can introduce colors, so you can then, it starts to get a bit complicated, right? So you would have your base colors, which are your core colors, your primary colors, and then you might bring secondary colors in. So if it's about digital office, it then also introduce another color, but you'd still keep some of your main colors in. Then you start bringing colors in that you just use for that element of the business. So there's little nuances, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
That's my
appreciate
that's
it.
my yeah that's
No, I
that
know
is
it's
my
a trick question.
favorite thing to do, but it's a bigger piece of work than to do that. But yeah, that's kind of branding at its best, isn't it? Because when
Exactly.
your overarching brand is right, everything else just starts to slot in place.
Yeah. Thanks, Kay. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right, so Kay, you've got some links that you want to put into the chat box.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think.
sorry, I'm asking, does anybody else have any questions?
Oh, hi, Joy.
No, Brendan, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Oh no, I think you asked my question, Karen, so you did.
Oh, sorry, I stole that.
You're all right, no problem.
So yeah, I just in the chat, if anybody wants to just quickly grab that, I've put a link to the website. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all the usuals. There's the link to the free brand slider if anybody wants to download that. And if anybody is wanting to actually take advantage of the brand flight map, where we find out where there's any gaps that you've had in your business, so you can plug those in to basically find further business growth, because it's the gaps, it's the little bits that you've missed that are holding you back usually. It's a really amazing product that we've launched, so feel free to grab that with a discount using the code. But if you're quick, because it's my birthday, there's other offers on my website that you can grab, but they'll just be on for this week.
Thank you. Now I'm just trying to, we have our next speaker. I'm just trying to make sure she's coming in on time. She was here earlier, and we got a few people who struggled with the link today, so I'm just sending the link out. So if there's no further questions for Kay, we've got everything in the chat box. Yeah, I want to thank Kay for coming in. I know that I missed your last presentation that you did at my summit because I had a power cut, so it was really interesting to actually see the full presentation today. So thank you very much for that, Kay. And Kay's information is on the website, Formula for Wealth. There will be a recording of this that will be released on the YouTube channel, Karen Newton. YouTube, and just want to thank everybody for being on here. So I'm just going to stop the recording.